What's going on, guys? Justin Fuller, ex-Honda salesman, tech lover, and today your host. And today we are going over some tips and tricks on the 2026 Honda Civic. I don't want you to own this thing for a year only to go, damn, I don't even know it could do that. So let's hop on in. So all the tips and tricks you see today, I'm performing on a 2026 Sport Hybrid. So this isn't very the top and it's not the very bottom. It's one of those two middle models. So the Honda Civic is set up with smart key entry. And what that means is you can leave your key in your pocket, you can walk up to the door of the car, touch it, and it'll unlock the door for you. But what it doesn't do is unlock your passenger side doors. But you can change that. If you want to do that, let me show you how to set it up. So to change the smart key entry settings, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down on the left side until we get to vehicle settings. When we get that, we want to go ahead and select it. Now, under vehicle settings, you are going to want to scroll down until you get to keyless access setup. Select that. The first one is going to be door unlock mode. That's the one we want to select. Under there, the default is driver's door only. You scroll down one, you can change this to all doors. All right, guys, so if you're anything like me, sometimes you get out of the car and you start heading into work or you start heading into the grocery store, wherever you're going, and you get all the way in there only to go, oh my God, I don't know if I locked the doors and my laptop or my camera bag or everything is in the car. Well, what if I told you could set up to where when you get 10 feet from the car, it'll automatically lock the doors? All right, guys, to set up the walk-away auto lock feature, we're gonna go into vehicle settings. Now, when you get into vehicle settings, you're gonna scroll down. You're looking for door setup. So it's about 4 or 5 down, you're gonna get to door setup. You wanna go ahead and select that. Now, once you're in here, you're gonna scroll down a couple times, you're gonna see walk-away auto lock. The default is for this feature to always be off. So you're gonna wanna change this to on. So the Honda Civic has this cool feature that you can use off the key fob. If you're walking up to the car, you can press the unlock button and then press again, and if you hold it, it'll start unrolling all the windows down and even your moonroof. Super cool feature if you live in a hot area, but you may be thinking, well, what if I'm laying on the couch in my house and I accidentally somehow press it in my pocket and then it rolls them down? Well, you can also turn this feature off. Let me show you how. All right, so to turn off the auto roll down feature, we're gonna go to vehicle settings. Now, when you get in vehicle settings, we are gonna wanna scroll down until we get to door setup. Now, once you get into door setup, you're gonna scroll down. I wanna say it's 4 or 5 down. You're gonna see keyless remote power window controls. You're gonna jump into here, then you can turn this feature off. Have you ever been in the back of somebody's car and they come up and they stop and everybody wants to get out and you go to get out and you're like, ah! And you're like, what is going on? The doors are still locked. Well, the way a Honda Civic is set up is that until the driver opens the driver's side door, all of these remaining doors are gonna remain locked. Now you can change that feature to where you don't have your passengers fumbling around in the dark trying to find it to get it open. You can set it up to where when the car comes to a complete stop and you put it in park, or you can change it when you turn the ignition off, it'll automatically unlock the doors. You wanna set that up, let me show you how. Now, once we're under vehicle settings, we're gonna wanna go down to door setup. Now, when we get into door setup, we wanna go to unlock, right? So auto door unlock. From here, you're gonna have those options. So all driver's sides, when the driver's side door opens, that's what the current default setting is. You can change it to when you shift to park, it'll unlock all the doors, or when you turn off the ignition, it'll unlock all the doors. All right, guys, so the Honda Civic is set up with a remote start. If you're not familiar with how that works, on your key fob, you press the lock button, has to be locked. There's a little round circle button. You press and hold that for a couple seconds. When you do, you're gonna see the lights flash and then the car will crank on. Now, the car will run for 10 minutes unless you extend that sequence and you can run it for additional time. Now, understanding, if you're not that comfortable with it, understand you had to lock the door. So it's not like somebody could run up and jump in. You had to unlock it. So I'm using smart key entry to get in. And then once you get in, you're gonna have to put your foot on the brake and press the start button to make sure the car fully turns on to where you could leave. But if all of that makes you uncomfortable and it's just not a feature you want to use and you want to turn it off, know that you can turn this feature off. Let me show you how. All right, guys, so to turn off remote start, we're gonna go into the vehicle settings. Once we get into vehicle settings, we're gonna come down here until we see keyless access setup. Under keyless access setup, we're gonna wanna scroll down. Now, you're gonna get to remote start system on off. When you get here, you can then turn that feature completely off. Have you ever ran out of gas? I have, it's happened twice to me in my life, and one of the times was a couple years ago. Kind of embarrassing, but there's something I want you to know about the Honda Civic in case you ever do run out of gas. If you come into the trunk, right, I'm gonna pop this sucker open and get underneath. There's this little funnel right here. I wanna explain the purpose of this. If you walk around to the door locks, or excuse me, to the gas cap, I'll point out that it's connected to the door lock so I can pop that open. Now, where this comes into play is if you ever ran out of gas and you didn't have a gas can or you weren't at a gas station with the pump, you need a way to open this valve open to pour gas down in it. That is the function of this funnel, to be able to open this to where you could pour gas down into it in case you got caught in a bind. Now, while we're talking about gas and we're talking about this door, if this door ever gets stuck and it won't open, right? If you come around to the back and you look up in here, there's actually a little tab you can pull. If you pull this sucker, it'll actually help pop the gas door open. So I was talking about the door locks earlier, and I was talking about the trunk. Well, everything is electronically connected. So if the battery dies, all things are stuck locked. Well, that can be a problem if I had something, let's say, in the trunk of the vehicle or in the car. Because when I come up here, if the doors are locked, I don't have like a keyhole to put it in. And where's my key? Well, let me explain that. If you come over here, there's a little button you can press. There is actually a key that lives inside of here. Now you could get this key. When you come over here, if you look up underneath the door handle, there's actually a spot to put the key in. If you put that in, it's gonna allow you to unlock this door, right? So now you can get in the cab. So if you need to get stuff out of your car, you'd be good. But let's pretend we needed to get in the trunk. So what you'd have to do is you'd come over here, you'd have to reach back here, unlock this door, right? And then once you unlock it, you could pop open this door. So now you would be able to get into the second row of the vehicle, right? So you get all your belongings out there. From there, one step further, we're gonna come into the very back up here. Now, if you come back here, there's a little panel right here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my key here, I'm gonna pop this panel open. When you get this panel open, then you're looking here, there's a little wire. If you pull that wire, you can pop your trunk open. So if your battery died and you had your laptop bag or anything important back here, you could get to it. Now, I mentioned it earlier, the car has smart key entry. Now, if you were getting out of the car, let's say I turned it off, I accidentally left the key in the cup holder, right? I hit my door locks and I started to walk away and I go, oh my God, I think I just locked my keys in the car. Well, the way this car is set up, it won't allow you to lock the keys inside of the car. So you'd walk back and be able to touch it and the door would open. But there are occasions when you may need to turn this feature off. Let's say you wanted to lock the key in it because somebody was coming with a spare, or maybe you have a tow truck coming and pick it up and they're gonna just get the car and load it up onto something. So you might wanna be able to physically lock a key inside of the car. Let me show you how to do that. So to turn off lockout prevention, you wanna go into vehicle settings. So we're gonna get in there. Now when we get in here, we wanna go to door setup. So when you find door setup, select that. Now you're gonna need to scroll down about 4 or 5 of these. You're gonna see it, it's gonna say lockout prevention. You're gonna select that. When you do, default is for this to be on, you'd want to turn this to off. Now I'm sitting in front of the steering wheel and there's going to be all these different meters and displays, and I want you to know that you can turn some of them on and off. You can also affect some of those alerts and those volumes of those alerts. Check this out. So if you go to vehicle settings, when we get into there, you're going to want to go to meter setup. So when I get into meter setup, I'm going to scroll down and show you a couple things here, right? So I'm going to get past trip A and trip B, adjust alarm volume. Right now, this is set to medium. So if you wanted to turn that up or down, know that both of those are here. So depending on what your thoughts are of like, hey, this is really loud or I'm not hearing it, maybe you're a little bit hard of hearing, know that you can change those here. Now I'm gonna go back one. While we're scrolling around down here, let me scroll back past that. Fuel efficiency backlight. If you want to turn this off because it's distracting or you just don't see a use of it, know that you can scroll down, select it, and then turn this feature off. Now, to take it one step further, I'm gonna scroll down just a little bit more to show you a couple other features that all live inside of here. Fuel efficiency backlight, rear seat reminder when you're getting out of the car to let you know if anything's in the back seats. It's a new feature in the last few years. You can turn that on and off as well. The speed and distance, if you want to change it from miles per hour to kilometers or kilometers to miles per hour, this is where you're going to do so as well. Just go ahead and select it, and then from there, you can pick the option that works best for you. Now, the Honda Civic is set up with a suite of safety features called the Honda Sensing Suite. Now, a couple of those features, I'm not going to go through them completely, are some controls over here, adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist, where it uses a camera up here to detect lines on the road. So if you drift to left or right, it can center you, right? And then you've got a forward collision warning system. If it's something like you're rear in another car, it can provide you an auto alert and then actually slow the car down. Now, the one I want to talk about is that camera that's up here. That camera can detect road signs, specifically speed signs, and it can tell you what the speed limit is on a road if you drive through it. On top of that, you can set up to give you alerts. So if you travel a lot and you're concerned about driving through an area and getting caught in a speed zone, this is really helpful. Let me show you how to set it up. All right, so we're gonna go into vehicle settings. When we go into vehicle settings, we're gonna want to scroll down until we see driver assisted system setup. That's a hard one to say. Now, when you get in here, you can come down. There's gonna be two that apply to us. The first is gonna be traffic sign recognition system display settings. We wanna make sure it's on. It should be, but if it's not, you're gonna wanna turn that on. After you've turned it on, right? We're gonna go back and then we're gonna go one down below that. So I'm gonna scroll back down until we see it. And then one below that is gonna be traffic sign recognition system exceeding speed warning. When you get into here, you can select some options. Currently it's turned off. You're gonna wanna turn this feature on. Now, once you have this feature on, you're gonna wanna back out of that, and then you're gonna go one down to speed limit warning threshold. You wanna select that. This is where you have some options. You can determine, hey, if I'm going 3 over, I want it to give me an audible alert. You can set it to 5 over. Maybe you're like, I'm not too worried about 5 over, or you can set it to 10 over. I think most of us are probably gonna live somewhere around that 5 to 10. I'd say 10. If you're going 10 over, you might get pulled over. Anything under it, you might be able to sneak your way out of that ticket. But nonetheless, note you can set this up to read the signs and even provide you alerts depending on what speed you're going over the limit. Now here in a second, I wanna talk to you about Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. There's some really cool things you can do as far as customization. But before I do that, I wanna show you a way to kind of take that to the next level. Check this out. So if you're looking at my screen right now and you own a Civic, you're probably going, this doesn't look the same. And if I jump into the apps, you're gonna see me start scrolling across and go, wait, he's got YouTube TV, he's got the Play Store? You're gonna say, okay, he's got Spotify, I've got that, but he's got Facebook, Amazon Prime, he's got Netflix, and I can actually jump into these things. And it allows me to stream them, whether I'm sitting still or driving. Now, these are cool things to be able to do. If you're taking a long road trip, maybe you want to be able to watch a show, listen to some stand-up comedy, whatever the case may be. The other part to this that I really like is even those apps that you do get through like Apple Carplay and Android Auto, they're kind of watered down or cut up. And what I mean by that is if I go into Spotify on those, it kind of forces me to use voice command searches and do different things that I don't really prefer. I want to be able to come in, select an artist, and when I go into the artist, I want to be able to see the entire discography of that person. So if it was from first to last, which cool thing, if you know who Skrillex is, look him up. He's actually in this band from way back when. But when I come into here, you can scroll down, you can see all their popular songs or popular releases. You get everything. You get the full version. If you had pulled this up on your laptop, right, or a tablet, this is what you'll get. Not the version in Apple CarPlay and Android where they kind of cut it down. They don't let you run searches the same ways. It's kind of a pain in the ass sometimes to use. Know that you get the full version of the apps. The other cool thing I like about this is, of course, you have access to the Play Store. You can go download anything you want, and you have access to all those streaming services that you may want to take advantage of. So just know that this exists out there. Now, what is this and how does it work? This is a box that I've connected up to the USB where I would normally plug in if I was like plugging in for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Right? This is the CPC 200T box. It is made by Carplay Kit. This is a really cool box. These guys have asked me to review like a handful of different boxes. I just like it, and it's actually affordable. I've seen some where they're hundreds of dollars. This one's on the more affordable side. So CPC 200T box. If you're interested in the idea of this, I've made longer videos, and it's in a lot of my videos, but I'll throw up a link, and of course a code if you want to save some money. I'm one of their affiliates. So check that out. It'll be in the description of the video. Now quickly, I just want to talk to you about a couple cool things that you can do with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. If I jump in here, the first thing I want to point out is I have custom actions set up. If you don't know how to do that, you can set it up to where you just touch one button and it'll call a person. You can also set it to where it'll do things like immediately direct you to the nearest Starbucks or Taco Bell. These are just cool examples. The other thing I want to show you is that when you're on here, you can have the map here, or if you like your audio here and you want the map over there, you can change that as well. All you have to do if you want to do that first one is come in here and scroll down to settings. When you get into settings, you're going to scroll down. So I've already done this. So you'd scroll down here until you see change layout. When you go to change layout, move media closer to driver. Once you've done that, when you jump back in, now you'll see it's flipped for me. But let's jump back to those two I mentioned at the beginning of the part, right? So if I want to set up a custom action, how exactly do I do that, right? How do I get it to where I can add these features in? So let's talk about that for a second. If you touch the customize button, when you do that, it's going to launch. Now I'm an Android user, don't hold that against me. It's going to launch my custom launcher. If you're an Apple user, it's going to be very similar, right? Now when I'm in here, add a shortcut to the launcher. If you want to do that, you're going to select that. The first one, call a contact. That was that first one you saw. Just do this, scroll through, find the person, and then select them. Very easy to add them. Once you've added them, it'll drop them at the very bottom, and then you just want to grab them and drag them up, right? So I would drag them up to the top like I already have. Now let's talk about the second one. If I want a custom action. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna go assistant action. Now, you can do a lot of different things here. Any voice command you can put in, probably can do, but I just find that this one is something I commonly use. So if I wanted directions to nearest Whataburger, and then I want to label it. So if I just wanted to label it, let's say burgers, right? Maybe that's my favorite burger spot. I'll label it. Once you've done it, you can test the command or you can create the shortcut. As I mentioned earlier, it's going to drop it down to the very bottom. You're going to want to grab that and pull it all the way up to the top, right? So I'm going to grab this guy and I'm going to move it up to the very top. Now, if you want these to adjust and then take place, you're going to have to disconnect from Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Once you've reconnected, what it will do is it will then reset that connection. So I'm going to wait for this to load back up. Once it's loaded back up, I can jump in here and now you're gonna see burgers is at the very top. And if I wanna check to make sure it works, go ahead and select it. Let me see if I need to turn this down so it doesn't yell at us. It's gonna find the nearest Whataburger and then pull up that for me. So now I can hit start and 10 minutes from now, I could be eating a delicious Whataburger. All right, so I wanna show you two more features, but I want you to know, you gotta have your seatbelt on for these features to work. So let me put my seatbelt on first, and then let me flip down here and talk about a couple of them. Right? So if I have the car on, let's say I got in to take off and the emergency brake was on. If you don't know how to set it, put your foot on the brake, lift it up to set it, press down to release it. Now, to release it, you don't necessarily have to get in, put your foot on the brake and press this down, which means if you get in the car like me every once in a while, you forget to turn it off, you put the car in drive, and then you're like trying to move and you're like, I'm not going anywhere. Well, if you have your seatbelt on, you can put it in drive, let your foot off the brake, touch the gas, and it'll automatically disengage the parking brake for you, and you can start going forward. Pretty cool. Now, the next one I want to show you is going to be right next to that. That is the brake hold button. Now, once again, you got to have your seatbelt on for this button to work. So if this is here, right, what I want to do is I'm going to have the car in drive. I'm going to press brake hold. When I press it, you're going to see brake hold and the word hold pop up. When that word hold is popping up, what it'll do is while the car's in drive, it'll hold the brake for me and we're not moving. So if you're in like a drive-through line, or maybe you're in just stop and go traffic, this is kind of an ease situation, right? It's more of a convenience feature. When I want to move forward, all I would have to do, touch the gas, it'll release the hold, and then we can move forward. When I come back to a stop with the brake, once the hold is on, it'll hold again, I can let my foot off. So if you're looking for a way to just take a little bit of that pressure off your leg while you're in stop and go traffic or you're a bank or something like that, you can do this. Remember though, you gotta have your seatbelt on if you're in the bank or a drive-thru and you go to take your seatbelt off to reach out the window. When you do that, it's automatically gonna engage the parking brake so that it doesn't roll the car in front of you. So hopefully that was helpful. I got a couple favors to ask. If it was helpful, press the like button, man. Let me know. 2, leave a comment. If you like what I'm doing or if you feel like I missed one or you know a cooler tip or trick you think I should add, I would love to know what that is. 3, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel when I produce videos like this. You'll get them. And 4, if you got some friends who own a Civic or are shopping for one, I hope you share the video. All right then guys, like, comment, subscribe, all the things. Later!